Comic Book Savant Extra, Episode 16. Welcome back to the Comic Book Savant. I'm your host, James Harris. This is the Comic Book Savant Extra episodes. Like I said, these are little side episodes that I do from the main content that are a little bit more personal and more as that I use to let you guys get to know me and some of the process I go through behind the scenes in putting the podcast together. As you saw by the title of this episode, is that we're celebrating the 13-year anniversary. I started this podcast back in August of 2006, and it doesn't seem like it's been that long. And I've always talked about this previously when I do anniversary shows and stuff like that. That I never imagined for this to have went this long. I've never been big on public speaking or doing a podcast. I even hate the sound of my own voice, which was always a funny thing in doing something like a podcast. But I just always had a passion for comics. And, I've told the story many times that as a very young child, the first thing I ever read was a comic book. And I had older cousins that a lot of my older cousins got me into comic books. They would hand down a lot of their old, comic books to me. And, I would just read constantly. I always had a stack of beat up, worn comic books. Maybe the covers were off, but I would just read them. As anytime they would come visit or I would go visit them, they would just drop another stack of comics in my hand. And that's kind of at a very early age how I got introduced to the world of comics. It was a funny thing because neither one of my parents were into comic books at all. So it was really through my my close cousins that I acquired the hobby. And, I did the podcast. I was, really when if you guys aren't familiar, my background as far as what I went to school for and I worked most of my adult life in is all in relation to technology. I went to school for IT and computer networking and then later on for web design. And I worked in those industries for a long time, and I still do some work. But like I've stated before over the previous years, due to a lot of different setbacks in my health, without going into too much detail, it's limited me doing as much work as I wanted to. And where I've been able to focus on the show more. I did the show on the side as a hobby thing, and I've been doing this more because I've always just been passionate about it. And at times, different scenarios in the time span of I've done the podcast limited me from doing it. Just be it deaths in my family. That you guys all have experienced and been there with me. For people that have been here over the course of the 13 years, has seen me go through a lot of personal tragedies, losing a parent, losing close family members. Like I lost an aunt very early on that actually pushed me to do the podcast when I didn't want to do it. She pushed me into doing it. I lost her a few years into the show. Because I divorced the wife, I got remarried, had grandkids, so many different things have happened over the course of it, and you guys have been there and been so supportive, of me over the time. And like I said, just, my IT background and working in that industry, over the past 8 years or so, it's been a real struggle just because I haven't been able to work as much as I used to. I do freelance work here and there as I get it, but again, I've had a lot of health limitations, some that have pulled me away from the show. Even like this year, I was telling you guys earlier when I missed some time with episodes a few months back, I had a lot of issues going on with my lower body and feet and so forth, and that set me back like a while. Like I was bedridden for quite a while. Some of the issues have recently cropped back up that I've kind of been fighting through and trying to get that in order, and back and forth to the podiatrist and my regular doctor. But I haven't I didn't want it to keep letting those things kind of prevent me from doing the podcast, doing the YouTube channel, because it was things that, as a content creator, you don't know. I started this 13 years ago when podcasts were just becoming a thing. It was no handbook on, the right or wrong way to do it. And probably over the time frame, I've done it wrong, 100 times over. But I've just learned, and I've used you guys as the best sounding board as possible to, help guide me in the right direction and giving content that I felt comfortable with, and giving you quality, passion, material that I was passionate about. I've never tried to jump on trends on what was necessarily hot topics, unless it was just important to me, or I felt like it was important for you guys, or I got feedback from you guys saying, hey, I want you to cover this. Then I covered it. So much of the podcast in the early beginnings came from a sense of community. Like long-term people that still support the show at this point, like Ed Moore. Again, I always tell the story. He's the first listener I ever met in person. Other people like TJ Tunnington, another person, one of the first people I ever got to meet in person. Heath Holland, that I'm really close to, that we lost contact for a number of years, but recently we reconnected through Facebook, and him starting up his YouTube channel and me finding it, him doing Serial at Midnight, which it was a very vocal early supporter of the podcast that did some stuff with me. I produced some certain podcasts that he did. Again, and all of these people became good friends that we met online because I started doing, a podcast, and I've met many other, you, and I've become friends with many others through the course of this doing this podcast, which I have to say I've been fortunate and I've been blessed to meet a ton of wonderful people, and people that have grown to be friends and family to me over the course of the time. And so it just means a lot to me when I look back now that I made it this long on something I never thought I would get one person to listen to, more or less, 200, 300, 400, 500, people a month listening to, the show, and it's fluctuated, and, sometimes it was bigger, sometimes it was smaller. I never try to focus on the numbers of it all. It's, sometimes it's easier to say that. Certain podcasters don't, for different reasons. Everyone had different motivations. My motivations was always trying to grow the show because I felt like I put my heart and soul into it, and I love the community that came back to me because of the passion and all the hard work and effort that I put into the, to the podcast and the community that kind of grew out of that. It always meant a lot to me because I found kindred spirits in my comic book fandom and the hobby and the culture. And it's not even a hobby or even a culture so much for me, is that it's been, like I said, comic books have been attached to my life since I was 2 years old. As of this recording, I am a 43-year-old man, and comic books have meant so much and have brought so many wonderful people into my life. I owe it so much. And this is just one of the ways that I feel like I can give back by doing this podcast and to continue to do it. And I just want to thank everybody along the way, anyone that's listening to this right now. Anyone that used to listen that might not be listening now, I thank you for the support and taking the time out, because you don't have to, but you have at some point or another, or you still do. And it's great. It's great as a creator to be like, I came out on this other side. I've done, I don't even know how many episodes I've done anymore. I try to keep up with it. I don't know, 400, 500. Whatever I've officially done at this point in the podcast is whatever. It's less important. It's just, I keep putting out stuff. keep coming. You know, I thought after all these years and after all these episodes, at some point you would run out of something to talk about in comic books, and I really haven't. And I still get excited, and you guys energize me, and I get more and more excited as time passes on. With more content. I really thought I would have ran out of stuff, and it's crazy because over the past, and I have to really, when it goes to giving thanks to people, I have to give thanks to my wife Martisa, or Marty as everyone close to her calls her, is that she's been so supportive of me doing this, even if it's been a detriment to time spent with her, me doing other things. She's always understood I needed this as a creative outlet, and I needed it because it's literally a part of me, and she supported me in so many ways beyond, financially, just being at a sounding board, just being my backbone to push me at times when, due to other things that were going on with me personally, I didn't want to continue, that she always nudged me forward because she knew when I didn't do it or I backed away from doing it, I always missed it, and it affected me on some kind of level personally, because doing this show and my connection with you guys is a part of me at this point. When I don't do it, I don't feel right, and when I have to take a break, when certain things spike to a point where physically I just can't, it affects me, and then it's hard for me when I get back in it. It's so tough because I don't feel just like I let myself down. I feel like I've let you guys down because, consistency with anything is key. And that's why I've worked so hard, regardless of what goes on with me, behind the scenes, that I try my best to, like if I record ahead, I have a log of episodes. I try to do that to give me kind of cushions in between, to make sure you always have content out and ready to go for not just the Comic Book Savant podcast, but for the YouTube channel as well, because that's been growing. I've been doing it a little bit over a year. It's kind of like, and it's starting on a whole new platform, is a hard thing. I've built up this audience, and it's, I don't have the biggest podcast ever by any means, but I have a consistent contingency of listeners that have been here, and with things like when it comes to sponsorships that I have, like with in stock trades, or when I do stuff with DCBS, and I love those guys over there, because whenever I ask them for something, they give it to me like with no questions asked. You know what I mean? And it's not, and we don't have this blockbuster deal. Like I tell you guys, I don't make, I barely make enough money off that sponsorship for it to barely cover all the expenses that just goes into putting out the show every month. But like when I do contests and things like that, whenever I ask them for anything, they never like scoff or or anything. If I ask for it, whatever I ask for, they'll be like, we have you, because he's like, you're in. One thing he told me a long time ago, he was like, your fans, your listeners, based on what you say, like we've seen numbers over the years. I've had different things like discount codes and things like that, and they always say, like, man, your listeners follow through and try our services and have spent money with us. So anything you want to do as gift giving back to them, they've always been down to do that. And I always appreciate them for that, because at times they went above and beyond to do things they didn't necessarily have to do. That was even beyond our sponsorship agreement, just because I wanted to do something different and to celebrate and give you guys more. They allowed me to do so. And I really appreciate my partnership with Cameron and his family over at In Stock Trades and over at DCBService.com. I give them mad love for just everything over the years. They've been a sponsor since the very beginning of the show, and I want to give them mad love for that. And I just want to shout out other people too. I always talk about my friend Derek Coward over at Comic Book Noise. Check him out at comicbooknoise.com. He's been a great mentor to me. Also, Peter Rios over at Comic Geek Speak. He's no longer with Comic Geek Speak, but when I started out doing the show, they were the biggest thing out when it came to comic book podcast. And, you know, all those 6 of those guys, you know, Brian Deemer, Peter Rios, my boy Jamie that passed away some years ago, just the whole crew there. And rest in peace, Jamie. I still miss you, you know, all these years later. It's been, you know, quite a few years, like 5 or 6 more years since he passed away. And I miss him just as much. Those guys were great, and they were big, and they always took time. And what I always loved about the original 6, 7 guys, and it's been a lot of changes. They still put out podcasts and everything now, but like the original guys have kind of fallen off in doing different things in life and marriage and kids and everything. But it's still remnants of the podcast still around, and they still put out stuff, and they pop up here and there. But you know, those guys took the time when they were like at the peak of their success to help not just me, but everyone that was coming in the comic book podcast space. They helped them tremendously. They did voiceover, like bumpers for me, helping me, you know, promote the show, and gave me tips, you know, just like Derek did as well. And, you know, and I always paid that forward to when I met people like Mike Myers that linked up with Derek, and he has been podcasting just as long as I have. Derek's been podcasting longer than I have. Heath, you know, like they met, a lot of us met through my message board that Comic Geek Speak gave me, and we had a nice close-knit community, and it, you know, it spun out to other things. I tried to mentor people, and I tried to mentor Mike and Heath, and Derek mentored, you know, Mike even more, and he's on his podcast network doing the Comic Book Noise network, and he puts out multiple podcasts there. You know, I used to put out podcasts that Heath used to produce as well. And, you know, I always try to pay it forward because it was all about the love. And it's never think of it. And if anyone here that listens to the show is considering doing a comic book podcast or just podcast in general, and you need some guidance or some, you know, some tips or what have you, let me know. You can always email me. Just go to comicbooksavant.com. You can email me from that page, or you can just email me directly, comicbooksavant@gmail.com, and I'll try to help out, you know, because I don't look at other comic book podcasters as competition for me. It's a huge space that everyone can grow in, and everyone has their different niches. My show is totally different from Comic Geek Speak, or totally different from Comic Book Noise, or anyone else. I do my spin and my take and my opinion on this whole comic book culture or comic book lifestyle. Is basically what it is for me at this point. Now to get into some other stuff like the future of the show, because I did put that in the title. And, you know, the reality of all this, and like I said, is that it takes money to continue the show on the path it's going to. I don't make enough off the one sponsorship. I try to keep as little sponsorship stuff off the podcast as much as possible, and that's kind of been my drive. I probably could have had more, but I've never been. I'm more the artistic and the content creator than the salesperson. I set up a Patreon years ago. I never pushed it, you know, too hard. Again, you know, Patreon became a hot thing. I wanted to take all advertising away from the podcast, but you know, like I have such a good relationship with Cameron and them, and like I said, it's a base amount to give me something to work with to at least maintain some of the base expenses that comes with, you know, doing a podcast. But that amount really hasn't changed over the 13 years. But like I said, what I can get as far as comps and bonuses that I do contests and stuff off of kind of offset that, but it's still inflation. You know, it costs money to produce the show. So reintroducing the Patreon. to you guys, and it's not anything that's required. So I just want to say that going forward, but just as this is becoming more a part of my life because of health-wise, and I'm more homebound, and I, like I said, the amount of freelance work that I do, this is something I kind of do to make a living at this point. So I'm doing a few things. I'm shaking some things up a little bit and trying this out. It's going forward, you'll still get the one episode a week of the Comic Book Savant podcast on the podcast feed as you've been hearing it. Now, what I'm going to be doing is, when it comes to the Comic Book Savant extra episodes, this will be the last one that you'll hear on the podcast feed. It will be the Comic Book Savant extra episodes will be moving over to Patreon. Now, it's something that I've wrestled with, and it was always meant to be a Patreon exclusive thing. That's where I originally came up with the concept for it. Just due to the physical nature of, recording multiple times a week and being able to keep up that schedule. It was started as a test thing to see if I could work in and maintain doing that much content per week consistently, and being able to put them out and the quality still be on par. And I've been able to do that. Like I said, I've done this is the 16th episode of extra that I've done. So I've been able to work it into my schedule, maintain it, and the quality didn't dip for the regular podcast compared to this podcast. Now, you can still get those, and I'm going to go over the Patreon campaign just so you guys understand what it is. Patreon is basically a site that allows you to support your favorite creators. Now, if you like what I do and you want to help support the show, and like I said, it's a lot of cost. I need to upgrade my computer, things like that. Just, certain things, upgrade microphone equipment, audio software, all those kind of things, video equipment for, the YouTube channel. It's not anything that's a requirement. You're not required to do this. But I wanted to give you something of value to entice you to, if you want to help support the show. And like I said, it's not a requirement. It's nothing like, I'm wagging my finger like you have to do this. A year ago when the anniversary time came up, I said I was going to give it a year, and maybe I wasn't going to keep doing a podcast anymore because I felt like I was kind of, stuck. Because as a creative, because you want to grow. I put a lot into getting the YouTube going off. That's growing. The podcast has been growing. So I just want to continue to do that, and I need your guys' help to do so. I have a few levels on the Patreon, and I'm not, you hear different things about things like Patreon and other things like that. I'm not trying to get rich or anything like that. I'm trying to maintain, if I could help pay some bills, and do what I need to do when it comes to upgrading equipment to give you guys better quality and, more things. Because as I'm doing more, I want to put out more content, not just on the podcast, but on YouTube as well. Right now I'm doing, 2 episodes because I'm doing a regular episode and Comic Book Savant Extra every week. And then I'm, doing about 2 videos a week as well. So I want to do more. So it's things behind the scenes where, if I can bring people on as freelancers, like artists, to help me do thumbnails and t-shirt designs and things like that. I'm going to do some merchandise as well. So it gives you multiple ways to just support if you want, and you can do things in different manners. Like with Patreon, it's a monthly thing. I have the first tier, and this would give you access to the continued access to the Comic Book Savant extra episodes. They'll still be coming out once a week, but it'll just be on a private feed on Patreon. So you would get emailed through Patreon when I would drop those episodes, and you would have access to those. And that's CBS Insider. This is a Patreon-only activity feed. You'll get additional posts from me, as well as, just me sharing behind-the-scenes stuff and commentary, and you'll have, the Comic Book Savant extra episodes. You'll have access with that, and that's only $1 a month. The next level or next tier to the Patreon is called Posted Up, and basically you get a shout out on the website. I have a page on the comicbooksavant.com website called Patreon supporters, and so your name is listed on the page as a supporter of the show. And you also have access to the, everything $1 up in the different tiers you get. You'll automatically at the $1 level you have that. So if you just want to throw $1 a month my way, it goes a long way to help me. And then you keep getting the Comic Books Savant extra episodes through that. Anything else is, like I said, you get that access for Posted Up is $3 a month. So even less than the cost of one comic a month. You get like I said, you get the shout out on the website, as well as the insider Comic Books Savant extra access. For $5 a month is called the Name and Lights, and the Patreon will get their name on screen in the credits for YouTube episodes, and that's on each episode that I do. Monthly. You also get the shout out on the website, and you also get access to the Comic Books Savant extra feed, that podcast feed for Patreon. I have Discord, which is something I'm still playing around with. It's either going to be through Discord or through our Facebook group that I already have. At the $10 level, you would either be a part of the ongoing Facebook group, because I already have that started, or I have a Discord server set up. I don't know how many of you guys are familiar with Discord. It's a great service that, you set up. You have an app on your phone or even on your desktop where you can do voice chat, as well as you have your own server to chat with. So you can chat with one another, chat with me, and we can discuss where the show is going. We have direct contact with one another, and you'll get early access to episodes that I have in the works, schedule, all those things, and you guys can also give me feedback directly, and I'll directly will be going back and forth with you guys on that. That's at $10 a month, and this one I don't predict I'll have too many people unless it's someone that's kind of really trying to sponsor an episode, and this is the producer tier, where it gives you an exclusive executive producer credit on videos that I produce on YouTube, and they're literally credited as an executive producer. That's $100 a month tier. I don't expect I'll get that many. Again, like I said, I'm not trying to get rich quick or do anything like that. Again, I'm the worst salesman ever. But again, some people, this is just more like a sponsorship thing, where, hey, this episode brought to you by kind of thing. That's at $100 a month. Credit is added after the first month, because on Patreon, people have done things like they'll join, get the benefits, and then will yank support. I've read a whole bunch of stuff about that. So you pay that, you pay that $100 that first month. As it goes into the second month, those videos that will come out that second month, you would get that executive producer credit on. I don't predict I'm going to get a lot of Patreons at that level. If any, maybe one was the blue moon. But again, it's just something I'm helping to do to supplement bringing in some income to help make the show better. Every little, I've upgraded a lot that I could, minor things here and there. If you have been watching the YouTube channel, you'll see I've been able to I had one light, now I got 2 lights. I was able to upgrade my microphone, little things, upon those things that I turn around, and when I get that money, I try to invest right back into the show, being able to buy more comics here and there to review and to have more content, pick up movies to review, and to more content. It's if you get any type of benefit from me, you can all, please, if you could, do so. If not, it doesn't stop me doing the show. I'm going to keep podcasting until I can't podcast anymore. Again, it's just trying to diversify and give you something that, sometimes people ask you something for nothing. So I'm trying to add value there entice you guys. If you want to support, you feel like you're getting something of value for that. Hopefully these comic books are my extra episodes you've gotten some value out of. So hey, for $1 a month, you can keep getting that. And like I said, if you want to invest in those other tiers, there's options. Like I said, I'm not trying to get rich. I'm just trying to maintain is basically what I'm trying to do. And if you guys listen to the podcast, certain people, I don't know if they're, heavy on YouTube or not. I encourage you guys to stop by and check out the YouTube channel. It's been growing slowly but surely. Like I said, I've been doing it. I started it last summer. I think to date it's about 65 original videos on there, and then also I upload previous podcasts on there as well, so you can get those. So like if you're on the go and you want to just have it playing in the background, or if you're at work and you got your desktop up and you want to play it, those are on there. So each time I drop a new podcast episode, it goes up there. So it's about 104 right now audio podcasts that are updated on there, but it's 65 about original videos. And I started off just doing one video a week. I've been bumping up to 2 as I get, like I said, more Patreon supporters and things like that. I can speed up that process and potentially even do more videos. I eventually would like to go daily, or I guess the next big thing is to try to go from 2 to 3 videos. I want to do more content, and it's one of those kind of things, just like with the podcast as well, that it's a process. So I want to build up to try to do more content and to keep growing, because the more you're active, the more potential growth you can get from that, because you guys have responded as I've picked up doing more episodes. And it still might be, and I'm not saying that I will never do more than one episode a week of Comic Book Savant, but that will be the minimum I will do. I still might do an extra episode here and there for something that comes up, breaking news or something that I want to cover. It might be shorter frame, like a little 5 to 10 minute thing. So that is a potential for those to go on, but it will at least be one episode a week you'll always get from Comic Book Savant, the podcast, if you don't decide to support the Patreon. And you can do, if you don't want to use Patreon, because some people are hairy about Patreon. I've heard way more good than bad when it comes to Patreon in my limited experience over the years, because I only had a couple of Patrons here and there over that time frame. No one's ever said it's been a bad experience, and it's just a way that I felt like that to give you guys ways to support the show. I also have, if you ever want to do like a one-time donation, or you don't want to use Patreon, I have, if you ever go to comicbooksavant.com, it's a support page. You'll see the links up at the top is support. Down at the bottom, it has like, if you want to do a donation, you could do like a one-time donation, or you could donate like once a month, via PayPal. I don't know if it gives you an option to do like an ongoing thing, but if you email me and let me know like, hey, I'm not a big fan of Patreon, but I'll donate. If you donate once a month through the PayPal link, I don't know if it gives me options to do subscriptions, but I will look into it. And if I could set it up, if you guys want to use PayPal and just sign up to do that, and you want access to the Comic Book Savant extra feed through Patreon, let me know, and we'll work that out if you're not comfortable with Patreon. Either way, because again, any support I have both set up. And I've gotten a couple of donations from you guys since I set that up. It's so weird because I'm more creative, but I'm coming to the realization that support is needed. It takes a village to raise a child. It takes a village to grow a podcast, to maintain a podcast. So, but again, enough about that. But on the you guys that listen to the podcast, I implore you to check out the YouTube channel. It's youtube.com/Comic Book Savant. And again, it's new content is dropped Tuesdays and Thursdays. Just like when I was, dropping content here, it's normally new episodes come out Tuesdays and Thursdays. That's the same schedule I kind of maintain on YouTube as well. And subscribe and click on the bell notification, and it'll let you know when those new episodes drop. Also, one last thing I did want to talk about in this episode, just moving forward with the show, I'm going to try to offer merchandise as well. So I'm going to have 2 T-shirt designs that are going to be available through Teespring. Then I'll have a link. By the time you hear this, the link should be available on the website. And it'll be 2 T-shirts designs many years ago, which cost me so much money because it blew up in my face because I didn't know what I was doing, and it wasn't sites like Cafe Press and Teespring and all these other T-shirt companies now. And I tried to do it on my own, and I lost a lot of money, but I sold quite a lot of shirts too. But I did not know what I was doing on that business end of that. But I had the old school logo for the podcast that I used for years, with like the mask and Comic Book Savant. I'm going to reissue a T-shirt for that, and then with the new modern logo that you guys see now, like on the iTunes art and on the art for the podcast and whatnot, and on the YouTube channel. So it's going to be 2 T-shirt designs. The shirts are going to be $23.99. I don't know. I'm going to have them, up there for however long. If you guys are artists and you want to help, work with me, I'm on a limited budget, but I'm willing to pay you, because I want to keep that going and do some cool, different designs and maybe sayings that I say on the show or something. Have fun and do merchandise. So again, if you want to do something like that, the shirts I did many years ago was a success. But again, I try to do it on my own and have shirts printed up, and then I was shipping them out by myself, and I might have made my money back. No, I didn't. I actually didn't make my money back. But it was cool having the T-shirts and then people sending me pictures with them with the T-shirts on. It made me real proud as a content creator. It was really fun, and they were nice. They were nice shirts, and I literally still have some of those T-shirts packed away in a box somewhere. Like I said, I almost lost my shirt on the shirts. But it was fun. But this time, using the Teespring, it's like you set a certain amount. They deal with the fulfillment end on it. They take their percentage, and I get a percentage of that. So, again, these are different ways that I'm trying to supplement and give you something of value for you supporting the show. And don't feel like if you're not doing these things, you're not supporting the show, because if you listen, if you give feedback, if you share, repost, retweet, all of that helps the show grow. So again, these things are not a requirement. It's just things that I ask from you guys. And another thing that I've done as well that you can do to support the show that's real simple, that if you buy anything through like Amazon, or when I make recommendations on the podcast or even on the YouTube channel, I have a page up called Bookshelf on the website. And it's imperative too that you go to comicbooksavant.com. It's going to be very important for another reason in a second, but I do reading recommendations, and as I make recommendations on the podcast or the YouTube videos, I will put up links now for you to be able to get this stuff through Amazon, and I have an affiliate link set up through Amazon. Again, it's not a requirement, or even if you want to buy something, because if you click on the affiliate link, even if you don't buy that and you buy something else through clicking on that link, I get a small percentage of whatever you might buy. So, even if you're buying some gum or some stuff through Amazon, you go through this link, and like I said, I'll get a little kickback. But if you're looking to buy some of the comic books or something, I recommend it. If you click on the link, again, and if you're already buying it through Amazon, if you click on this link, you help support the show. I've put up links to quite a few comics and trade paperbacks in physical form as well as digital, because I mainly am digital. I've also did the same thing with comic book films. I put some links up. I'm a part of the affiliate program, not just with Amazon but with iTunes as well. So I put up for the physical for Blu-ray, and then iTunes if you want to buy the movie digital, and also Amazon links to some comic book video games as well, like the Walking Dead games, Injustice, the Batman games. And I'll be adding more links there of stuff that guys can pick up. And I was like, that's another small thing that you can do. Just if you're doing your regular shopping through Amazon, be like, let me kick Comic Books Savant some ad revenue, and click on the link through there, and you help the show out. But again, none of this is a requirement. One of the other big things I want to talk about before I get out of here is growing the community and how I'm going to do that. And I've been talking about this for a while, teasing you guys. You know, I did a lot of hauls and I got a lot of merch and comics, physical comics. You guys know I don't do physical comics like that. So I have trades that I'm giving away this month and even in the next month, because I have like over, I think I got 8 or 9 trades that I'm giving away. I have like somewhere upper like 40, 50 comics or something like that. And as I get more physical comics, my friend Ron Sanders that I talked about at Comic World Florida has been hooking me up. DCBS and In Stock Trades, they've been hooking me up with some stuff. So as I get more stuff, I'm going to be doing more and more giveaways in the going forward in this year. And I'm doing all this in hopes to grow the community more. I want more interaction from you guys. I want to hear from you guys on social media. I'm not a Twitter person, so I'm not even going to say follow me on Twitter. If you do, that's cool. My platform of choice has basically been Instagram, and even like through Facebook. Like I said, it's a Comic Book Savant discussion group there that, I have a link on the website. If you go there, request to be a member, you can go in and, we talk of, it's small at this point. But I want to grow that more and interact with you guys as much as possible. Again, is this via Instagram or YouTube, in the YouTube comments where you comment on videos, or if you go to Comic Book Savant, even though you might be listening to the show through many different avenues, because I'm on iTunes, I'm on iHeartRadio, I'm on Sketcher, the show's all over the place as far as where you can get the podcast from. But if you take a moment and go to the website, and this is why I have this page here, is that you can leave comments right here under an episode. The video, you can always come to the website and you can play the YouTube videos right here off the site. You can also play the podcast right off the site, and you can leave comments here. And please do. I love getting feedback from you guys, or email me. You can email me anytime at comicbooksavant@gmail.com. And just put in the header, like, whatever episode that you're leaving feedback about, so I know. And I will respond to you guys. That's how I met Ron. He was a fan, and he reached out via Facebook. We started talking, and he's become a good friend in a short amount of time. Just a friend in comics, and just a big comic nerd like the rest of us. And so I give him, mad props and mad love. He's been super helpful, as of late, since me and him have linked up. So definitely. So this is what I'm going to do for the contest. You have to comment on this particular episode, Comic Book Savant Extra, episode 16, anniversary celebration, and the future of Comic Book Savant. You have to go to comicbooksavant.com and leave a comment. And I'm going to take the people that leave comments on the website for this particular podcast episode, or those are the names I'm going to pick. You only can have one entry. You only can leave one comment. And those are the people that are going to be picked for the giveaway. I got multiple packages away. I'm going to post. You should see or already have seen on Instagram, I'm going to show pictures of the different books that I'm kind of packaging together. I'm just doing random packages of trades and comics that I'm going to be giving away. So I'm going to be doing a giveaway here. So once you listen to this episode, check it out. I'm going to be doing another giveaway for another package on Instagram and on YouTube. So I'm going to be doing a special video on YouTube for that contest, and I'm going to be posting something on Instagram for that contest. So you have to be subscribed to me on, be following me on Instagram, as well as subscribe to the YouTube channel for those individual giveaways. So there are going to be 3 individual places you can win stuff at, but you can only have one entry per platform. So definitely be on the lookout for that. So I'm going to have more posts and more stuff about that coming up soon. I'm going to be posting some images as I'm getting the little bundles together, putting them together. I think I'm doing 6 comic book issue bundles. I got a couple of, 3 trade bundles. One bundle is just 2 trades. And I got a ton of 6 issue comic book bundles that I'm putting together. I got to take some more pictures, but they'll check the Instagram, and you'll go back and check my feeds. You'll see me posting pictures of those coming up as well. So that contest is going to be running from now to the end of the month, and then at the end of August, I'm going to pick the winners, and I'll be shipping that stuff out. And I don't know how much I'm going to be giving away because I still might be getting some more physical comics in between now and then, so it might be spilling over into September, and I'll be doing more giveaways. But the first wave of giveaways will run from the airing of this episode to, let me pull up my trusty calendar, to August 31st. So all entries must be received by 12 p.m. or by the end of the 31st. August 31st. Any entries after that won't be considered, but any ones I get between now and then will be. Trying to make it simpler to do the contest. I think this is the simplest way to do it. So that'll be rolling out as well. I think I actually touched on everything I wanted to touch on in this episode. Again, check out comicbooksavant.com, the YouTube channel. Thank you guys for all your support again and helping me make it 13 years, and hopefully we can keep this going for 13 more years. And I appreciate you. I love you guys, and I will see you next time for another episode of Comic Book Savant. Have a good day.